Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Race discussion on the fallout from Boruto chapter 80. And now that we know for certain that the time skip is here, which I've covered in another video here on the channel, I wanted to bring to you guys another Patreon fan theory that got submitted to me because I think this patron might be onto something in terms of what to expect coming out of Boruto's time skip in the next chapter. And their theory in particular leads to some major problems for Kawaki when we get into the time skip itself. And given how Kawaki is so focused on killing Boruto and Code, it seems my patron's theory might actually turn out to be correct. So in the message that I was sent, my patron states that they are of the strong belief that not only will Kakashi step back into the role of Hokage, but Kakashi also plays a key role in unraveling the truth about who Kawaki will actually be, despite the effects of the shinjutsu that Ada uses to make everyone's minds believe that Kawaki is Naruto's firstborn son, and despite the shinjutsu making people ignore things that they should see as red flags and accept them as a reality. My patron says that Kakashi and not Shikamaru will be the first one to figure out something is terribly wrong and that something has happened, and it's because Kakashi has experienced something that Naruto's generation has only tasted but not actually lived, which is grief. They point out that Naruto's generation, while it does know what grief is, because they all saw Neji die in front of them when he protected Naruto and Hinata, they point out that none of them have had to deal with grief in the manner that Kakashi has. Kakashi saw his own father kill himself due to the village, making him feel dishonorable for saving his comrade and not finishing the mission that the village gave him. Kakashi saw Obito die twice, once in what he thought was gonna be death, and the second time when Obito not only saved Kakashi from dying, but he also died to protect Naruto. He saw Rin sacrifice herself by jumping in front of his Raikiri in order to prevent the Hidden Mist village from being able to unleash the three tails sealed inside of her when she got back to Konoha. He felt the blood of his comrade on his hands as a result of that. He was kept away from the Nine Tails attack when his sensei, the fourth Hokage, was murdered. He was unable to do anything when Hiruzen, the third Hokage, and a man who gave him purpose after Minato's death. Kakashi was left fighting Orochimaru's underlings and unable to assist the third Hokage in the battle, where Orochimaru is ultimately credited with killing him. My patron says that whereas the other members of Naruto's generation will react in heartbreak and shock in the way that Shikamaru did, where they find themselves unable to grasp what happened, Kakashi has enough experience when it comes to death that this won't faze him in the way that it did the others. His grief won't consume him in the way that it will do for numerous people in Naruto's generation, from Konohamaru all the way up to people like Sakura and Ino. And this is even more so because those shinobi in Naruto's generation have gotten used to Naruto being this all-powerful being who has guts and talk no jutsu and a few Rasengans to the face, is able to save the day and seemingly topple every foe that he's ever met, saving the world on 4 different occasions, saving the world more times than he has actual children. However, my patron says that Kakashi is someone who's lived in that darkness of grief and death for many years before. His mind will be the first to start looking over all the data and begin putting all the pieces together. And they think that that's going to ultimately be what ends up making Kawaki fall in his plans to fool everyone. So I'll definitely say this, I do agree 100% with the first part, which is that Kakashi will be the one who steps in to be the next Hokage. I've said as much in another video. Narratively, Kakashi makes the most sense. Tsunade has been retired for over a decade now. She's not taking the job back. Kakashi was a Hokage serving as a bridge to the 7th Hokage because after the 3 years on the job that Tsunade did, she had enough of it. But Naruto at the time was not ready for the position despite being more than powerful enough to be the Hokage. Hence, Kakashi groomed Naruto for the position during the blank period until he was ready to step in and lead the village with maturity when it was actually needed. Kakashi narratively has to be the one who comes back to service at bridge because Naruto is now gone. Everyone believes he's dead, and based off what we've been told in the past novels, Shikamaru and Sakura, the 2 people Kakashi canonically made the very first Jonin before anyone else, which is a reminder Naruto's promotion to Jonin, on top of being anime filler, also came with the condition that Naruto passed the Jonin exam, which Naruto never did. Hence, he was still a Genin during the events of Naruto the Last. Shikamaru and Sakura, in that order, are the people who are on that bench to be the next Hokage, but Shikamaru, while fit for the role, won't ever likely take it. He's more than content with being a number 2 who occasionally steps in to be a number 1, and Sakura, even when you throw out the Konoha hospital that she's in charge of running and the clinics in the other villages that she set up and helps run remotely, Sakura is disqualified because of Sasuke's actions. Sasuke saved Boruto. The kid who everyone believes killed Naruto and Hinata. Even if the higher-ups believe that she had no idea of what actually happened, even if the feudal lord believes that, the optics are too bad for the civilians in the village itself. They're not going to believe that a woman who theoretically in this situation became the 8th Hokage after Naruto's apparent death, who happens to be the wife of the man who happened to save the kid who is accused of killing the Hokage, people are not going to buy into that. There's going to be a lot of side eyes and conspiracies surrounding that. It has too many questions and the optics are absolutely shot. Kakashi's bench that he set up in the timeline during the blank period for people who can step in as Hokage is absolutely in tatters. Shikamaru won't ever take the spot. Sakura can't because of what we just laid out, and Naruto in everyone's minds is actually dead. Kakashi has to step back in and take that Hokage position. So I do agree there. I think the second part is where we do have questions and where we're gonna have to wait and see what the manga actually does. I think that those are really good points. When you look at Kakashi having dealt with grief, the man is able to compartmentalize his emotions and look over the data on his own and piece together all the truth. Kakashi isn't the type to just go along with what Ada tells him, especially given their minds have swapped Boruto and Kawaki's roles. Kakashi's going to have a question on how someone like Ada, who was supposedly madly in love with Boruto in his mind, is all of a sudden so quick to rat out Boruto like a snitch and suddenly boo-booed up with Kawaki. Kakashi knows better than anyone that a woman's heart, it doesn't change that easily, especially if she's in love with somebody. He saw it with his own teammate in Ren, and he saw it again with his student Sakura. Kakashi is going to raise an eyebrow at Ada's actions. However, it all comes back to the shinjutsu as well. Sasuke told us that an invisible force, it gets stronger as more time passes and makes him ignore things that he knows are out of place. If someone like Sasuke, who is aware that he's being fooled by the shinjutsu, has to make a constant effort to go against it, what will that do to someone who has no idea, like say Kakashi? Even if he suspects it, he can't trust his own mind. Yet at the same time, Kakashi, even if that's the case, as Kakashi watches Kawaki, there will be things that stand out. Kakashi is someone who watched Boruto grow up. There was a level of familiarity there between the two that led to Boruto at times calling Kakashi out of his name, which led to Kakashi correcting Boruto and reminding him to call him Lord Six when they're out in public and around other people. Kakashi has watched Boruto grow. He's assisted him in his training, and he knows that Boruto, for all intents and purposes, isn't just a baby Minato in terms of being a genius. The cold hard truth is that Boruto can be argued to have better shinobi instincts than his grandfather Minato, which I know there's going to be some nostalgia viewers who are probably going to have my head for even daring to say this about Boruto, but there is a very good argument that can be made here. Boruto has better instincts than his grandfather. When Kakashi sees Kawaki behaving out of character, not knowing things about shinobi culture that he should actually know, and unable to do things that Kakashi knows that he should be able to do, even with the shinjutsu telling Kakashi to ignore these things, Kakashi in a way could, even with the shinjutsu telling Kakashi to ignore these things, Kakashi could in a way pose a problem for Kawaki. Kakashi at the end of the day is a shinobi. His suspicions, they're always hidden, even from those who are sharp-minded, and he's extremely observant, but he doesn't tip his hand. Kakashi figuring out the truth about Kawaki won't be impossible, and Kakashi is also someone who has seen enough crazy things in this world, including the floating space goo of the Sage's Six Paths, and he knows that you can't rule anything out. It's not impossible to think that Kakashi first acknowledges that everything that he sees is wrong, and that the shinjutsu at the same time tells him to ignore it and accept it for what it is, but Kakashi also keeps a mental log of all the things he's seen out of place and comes to the realization that they're being deceived somehow, especially if I'm right that he's going to be the one who trained Sarada during the time skip, since he's the only person in the village who's ever had a mangekyou sharingan and knows how to unlock his true power. The big question that we're going to have is going to be what happens when Kakashi tries to act against the shinjutsu directly. Will there be a physical affliction that destroys his mind, like Amato said would be the case for those who try to lethally harm Ada while under her charm control, and given this shinjutsu is the true nature of her power, the repercussions could be equal if not greater. We see Sasuke not so much go against the shinjutsu as he is resisting what the shinjutsu tells him is actually reality, but also continue to act in a way where he's walking his own path. He's not going out his way to directly oppose the shinjutsu mentally by trying to jump through these mental hurdles and loopholes in order to prove that Boruto is actually Boruto and Kawaki is actually Kawaki. He's letting things play out naturally. He's trusting in his daughter, and he's reacting to the events as they transpire. He's walking a very fine fine line, and that could be the blueprint for those who are affected by the shinjutsu. Kakashi is quick enough on his mind to know that despite everyone and everything telling him that Kawaki is Naruto's firstborn son, and his own memories are telling him that, the red flags that he keeps seeing are going to be enough to make him consider the outside possibility, which is that he can't trust his own mind, but he doesn't know the why behind it unless someone like Sarada tells him to. Kakashi would be smart enough to hide his intentions until the time is right, but the red flag we have is, will Kakashi figure things out before the shinjutsu has been in effect for too long? Because we're told the longer the shinjutsu's in effect, the stronger the urge to overlook red flags becomes. If Kakashi is able to come to the realization that something's wrong, he is a danger to Kawaki because he won't ever know that Kakashi's on to him, and he won't tip his hand to Ada that he knows the truth either, which gives her no reason to keep her eyes on him. Sumire and Sarada being immune and knowing the truth, that's one thing, but they cannot be allies to Boruto from the inside of the village alone, and just having to convince someone like Shikamaru might not be enough, especially given Shikamaru changing in personality and being combined with being a simp for Ada is going to be a bad combination if he acts differently, and that would catch Ada's attention. They need Shikamaru to continue acting as he's been, or if he does know, he's going to have to walk a fine line, whereas someone like Kakashi can continue to disguise his intentions with no issues because neither Kawaki or Ada have experience interacting with them. I can't go so far as to say that Kakashi will be the key to Kawaki being outed, but I do think there's enough here for Kakashi to be a character that we have to keep our eyes on in Boruto Part 2, but I'm curious to see where you guys actually disagree with this, because I can see a few holes in this, but I can also see where there's some legitimacy to this. Also, don't forget to check out my top 25 strongest Demon Slayer characters ranked from weakest to strongest video.